Today's show brought to you in part by our friends at the New York Thoroughbred Breeders. Want to remind folks that New York Bred Saratoga Showcase Day is Friday, August 27th, and there are a lot of benefits when you join the New York Thoroughbred Breeders. Free entrance to the Naira tracks, as well as Finger Lakes, free New York Stallion Register, free New York Breeder Monthly Magazine. Lots of cool stuff. You can learn more at nytbreeders.com. Going to be hearing a bit more about them next week across the network. Very proud to be working with them as well, because they are a sponsor of the TRF Barbecue at the Barn. That's next Tuesday, one of the events of the season in Saratoga, sponsored by the New York Thoroughbred Breeders, among others, including In the Money Media. And we want folks to join us out there from 5 to 9 at Saratoga Winery. There are no walk-ups. You've got to get your tickets in advance. So don't delay. If you're going to be in town and you want to eat some barbecue with us, come and join us. Best place to find tickets is the TRF website, trfinc.org, or I think you can get to it through our link, which is where you want to be making your donations anyway. That's trfinc.org/players. Hello and welcome. This is the In the Money Players podcast, our show for August 21st. That's most of the races we're going to be talking about. We will talk about one race from August 22nd, and that is the Queen's Plate. Today's show brought to you in partnership with our friends at Woodbine, specifically Queen's Plate Day. Great stuff all weekend at Woodbine. We're going to start the show talking about that a little bit later on. We're going to have action from Saratoga, of course. It's Alabama Day. Also, Del Mar Pacific Classic Day, major stuff that will be covered. And also Iselin Day at Monmouth. We'll get a little bit of love. Loaded show. And we kick things off, and this is appropriate for a show that's promoted by our partners at Woodbine, with our resident Woodbine expert. You've read his work over at inthemoneypodcast.com, and you've heard him on these airwaves, just about every week since Woodbine had the opportunity to reopen. Speaking of Woodbine, I want to mention that we do have already, well, not already, but very shortly, we're going to have dropping, it'll probably drop before the show drops, a full card analysis of the Queen Plate, special visit from Jim Lawson, giving an update on the meet. And then we'll have Jason Pertuando and Doug McPherson going over all the Queen's Plate Day races. We'll get to the Queen's Plate itself with this first guest, who I'm still in the midst of introducing. He is Drew Coatney. Drew, what's going on, my man?
I'm good. I'm glad I don't have to do the full card analysis of Queen's Plate, because that is a tough card. So we will talk about it a little bit in a different segment for the Queen's Plate itself. But I'm excited for Saturday's card as well. It's pretty good.
Yeah, we got to figure out. You and I will also do a Final Answers Queen's Plate Day show on Sunday. But yes, I needed more time to go through all 13 of those races. I think is it 11 turf races? It's a little crazy in a good way. The big full fields, and this is stuff a lot of horse players always say they want. Chance to vote with your dollar this weekend and wager on Woodbine. We're going to start off today talking about the Saturday card, and the graphic that I sent Craig says late pick 4, but I think we should start off looking at these stakes races if you're game.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so we're going to start off by looking at race number 3 on the Woodbine card on Saturday, and very curious to get your thoughts on this one, my friend. Where did you end up going in here?
Yeah, I love a horse in here. I think there's two things that are key in the comment lines, and I like the Twitter movement in horse racing has become more replay oriented, like we've been preaching for a long time, as well as Benny South Street and others, Trip Notes Pros as well. So the number 3 Silent Farewell and the number 5 First Empire, important to know. I'm picking the number 3 Silent Farewell on top because had just a mess of a ride, broke a bit slow, idled in the middle of the pack, had some traffic to work around. And was on the wrong lead, and once finally popped over to the right lead on maybe the 16th pole, just exploded, just absolutely exploded. So I think with just a smidgen of extra distance today, and that second start should be really good. The number 5 First Empire, I think, is a bad favorite. It says ridden out. There is no way, if you go back and watch that replay, this horse was not ridden out one bit. I think we'll have an easy lead again today, so maybe just inherits the win that way. But at the short price this one's going to be, I don't want to take this one on at 2-1, or maybe I would guess it's going to go down to 6-5. So I'm cold single in the 3 Silent Farewell at 6-1.
We have the same top pick. As you noted, I thought Silent Farewell showed real ability on debut, appears to have worked forwardly since. Normal second out improvement, I think, could possibly improve past First Empire. I will not be opposing First Empire, though. First Empire will be on a lot of my tickets simply because did handle the top pick on debut and might have a pace advantage once again against this crew. I was going to try to get out 3 and 5 in this soaring free stakes for Drew. He was going to try to oppose the morning line favorite with number 3, Silent Farewell. Hopefully our agreement on this one will pay dividends. So that was the 2-year-old stakes with 125,000 in the pot, going 6.5 on the turf. For the boys, we'll now hop ahead to the other version of this race for the girls, these both being preps for the Talma and the Summer, which will be coming up next month. Grade 1 action, key Breeders' Cup Juvenile turf preps up at Woodbine. But race 6, 3:42 is the scheduled post time for the mirror race for the other sex. And for me, I was going to keep it pretty simple here and then mix in some prices. But my top pick was going to be number 2, Diabolic. Just very basic on figures and forms, a stakes winner. Might also get the best trip, closing into what I thought would be a fast pace. I wanted to have some 7s. This number 7, Silver Magnetized. She ran fast enough early and late in the last race that I thought she's a major win candidate. I'd like to see stalk and pounce tactics once again. An early attack could lead to a pace meltdown, which could favor the top pick, Diabolic. But I'm interested in Silver Magnetized. And then, and not just because, you know, he's the CEO over at Woodbine, but the Jim Lawson homebred, number 3, Mrs. Barbara. I thought was interesting, maybe with different tactics, maybe with a hold-up ride with all the speed that I see signed on. That last race came back okay on the clock, and I think based on pedigree, the 6.5 might suit her. Just a maiden trying stakes company, but listed at 12-1 on the morning line. I think Mrs. Barbara goes with a big shot. Drew, how do you see it?
I think we're going to cover all the horses here. My top pick is the number 8, Lois Len at 9-2. Hopefully that price drifts up a little bit. Clearly had talent on debut. Doesn't want to sprint like in the short distance. You can kind of tell early on in some of those starts. And facing all of these others like Diabolic in the last start, just didn't have the best of trips. And that 46 bullet workout 2 back and then the 47 on the turf shows that maybe this one's going to wake up on the turf and do quite well in Cassie's hands with husband. So the connections you can't go wrong with. And again, I'm hoping this one drifts up a little bit beyond the 9-2 price, but I think there might be a pace meltdown as well. And I really can't argue any of your other statements. My backup, just from a pure play standpoint, will be the number 2 Diabolic for the reasons you mentioned. So I'm on the number 8 and the number 2 here. Probably list both of those as A's if we were going that route.
Yeah, well, we certainly will. As folks who are In the Money Plus subscribers know, when you subscribe to Plus, in addition to getting extra podcast content, like the awesome show we did back on Monday when both Bob Nastanovich and Blake Jesse gave out a very nicely paying pick 5. You get extra content like that, but you also get little digests with all the picks from the various shows. So I'm glad you specified you were going to go 8-2 in that spot. For me, it's 2-7-3. And now we'll move on to what we usually do in our Woodbine segments. And that's cover the late pick 4. Not necessarily because we're always going to be playing the pick 4. I know you and I both big believers in those rolling doubles at Woodbine, favorable economic terms for players. But hey, it's nice to go over the late pick 4. And we've got a couple of stakes races, starting off with race 8 at 447, the grade 3 Singspiel, 3 and up, going 1.25 miles on the turf, and some old friends in this one. We'll let you kick it off, though, Drew. Who do you like in here?
Yeah, I texted you last night. I think you're going to laugh at some of my picks and or like them. I'm going to go with a bit of a long shot on top of the number 3 Woodbridge at 20-1. It's going to be 50-1 on the day. And I think we're seeing an exact carbon copy of what happened last year. Kind of debuts for the year, kind of out there meddling, and then really steps up on that second start. And the 46 work that this one has displayed as well, again, signals there is still talent in the 7-year-old. And the body of work in terms of just buyers overall is like right up there with them. So I'm not sure if we're gonna I hope we'll see the 20 to 1. Oh, they actually updated it to 10 to 1. I'm sorry. So it's actually drifted down for some reason. The morning line must have been off. We're at 10 to 1. But still, I think that's still a great value of a price there for this horse. That we're going to see a carbon copy of what we did in 2020. The other horse that I like is the number 6, Belichick. It really showed me a new dimension, being able to tend to some speeds. I think today may have another step forward left. And the number 8, Corelli, at 5 to 2 we'll use as a defensive. It should be north of the border, but it's interesting to note that Jonathan Thomas has shipped 8 runners to Woodbine, 4 of which have been 5 to 1 or less, and only 1 horse of those 8 have hit the board. No winners. So I'm a little leery on the number 8, Corelli, but I will use defensively. It kind of feels like let's ship north and try and collect the check. I don't know if it's going to work, but that's where I'm at.
I really liked Corelli when he came over and was expecting bigger things than what we've seen so far. But Jonathan Thomas, that's hands I trust to make the right decision. Maybe Corelli will be seen to better effect. I kept it simpler in here. My top pick was the one you mentioned, second. That's number 6, Belichick. I thought that was a tricky trip last time for a couple of different reasons, not least because it didn't seem like the most efficient run through. I think this time around, Belichick looks to me like going to get a much better lead into the race, can hopefully spend that energy more efficiently and show his best stuff. I think his best race wins this. And I was also going to use number 1, Eons, this horse with plenty of finish. I think either of the last 2 runs would put him bang on there in this spot. Favorites for me, I liked it 6-1 in race number 8. Let's move on to another 2-year-old race. We've got Maiden Phillies going 5.5 on the synthetic. A race we didn't cover on Baby Talk because I figured, hey, we're going to cover so much 2-year-old racing here. I didn't think we had to double up. But if you are interested in thoughts on maiden races from both Saratoga and Del Mar, you can check out Baby Talk with me and Sean Tugel. I thought we did a fun show yesterday. We'll be back with another one for Sunday action later. But in this 2-year-old spot, I put the 2 Call Me Kitty on top. I think this horse can be somewhere in the mix. It's interesting because this barn, looking at the career stats, not really known for second out improvement, but looking at the recent numbers, 3 of the last 10 second-time starters that were maidens have won. So I thought that was a little interesting and maybe a reason why in a race where there isn't really a clear form and figure pick that Call Me Kitty could get it done, listed at 6-1 on the morning live line. That is, my math words failing me. Number 1, Stunning Rivers, another I wanted to mention. Competitive figure despite taking a little bit of a bump at the start. I thought could maybe improve enough to win in this spot. And then the 4, Tally Road, another one listed at a price on the morning line, who I think could be positioned well early, looking at the Timeform US pace projector. Just seemed like one who was eligible to improve. I liked it 2-1-4. I think you could tell a lot of stories in here. What's yours, Drew?
I think you could tell a lot of stories, and going back to the replay of the Tally Road and a few others in there, so important because if you just look at it, right, Tally Road finished 9th, beaten 14. It's like, well, that's terrible. Why would we ever side with this horse? Who is my top choice? Go back and watch the replay. It tells a much different story of a horse, the number 2, Call Me Kitty, getting somewhat of a dream ground-saving ride, and then the number 4 on the head-on just getting body slammed. I'm not a wrestling fan, Pete, but I'm sure there's a term for what happened to this horse out of the gates. And then the jockey, I don't know if the jockey was like, hey, look, this one got its wind knocked out of him, so Singh had 2 fistfuls the entire way around. Even passing horses down the lane and kind of had a fistful and gave a crack of the whip and still finished within that blanket finish where all the horses out of that race are in here today that finished in that blanket per se. So I'm in the number 4, Tally Road, for all of those reasons I just mentioned. Can't fault you for anything else that you've said in the others, but I am going to use the Stunning River as a defensive for what you said. And the number 3, Thanks Laura, I think is just a newcomer to this one and obviously didn't fire the last time out, but on debut had some talent. So maybe something was awry there and we can get back to the right track for the number 3, Thanks Laura. So I'll use those 2 as backups and my A as Tally Road.
Let's move back to the stakes ranks. Grade 3 action for fillies and mares 3 and up, going 7 on the synthetic. And a horse that you and I have both picked many times is likely to head the betting in here. That's the 7, Boardroom. Are you with or against today?
Oh man, I was so close to fading Boardroom, just because I know our secret agent may get the better of the ride, but I think Boardroom was not fully cranked in that June 19th effort, and today should be even bigger, badder, and better. So I'm on the number 7 Boardroom, but you got to look at a hard look at number 5 Tofin as a backup, just from a pure speed play, gets a little bit of a cutback. I don't see much else coming after this one late, if it gets loose per se. So I'm with the number 5 Tofinus backup, but I'm siding with my girl number 7 Boardroom as an A.
You did not. You mentioned our secret agent like you were going to have her in your picks, and then you didn't mention again. What's your feeling about her? She's my second choice to Boardroom.
I think the form is exposed, and some of those first off of the bench type efforts that this one ran competitively against Boardroom, I just felt like maybe that was one that our secret agent was primed, Boardroom wasn't, and now Boardroom is going to be much more primed, and our secret agent's form has already been exposed, right? Because it ran a 90 buyer, right in that wheelhouse of what we've seen for our secret agent so far.
I mean, somebody's got to run second to Boardroom too, is what I was thinking, and I don't think there's anyone more likely for me than our secret agent. I mean, starting with Boardroom though, tough to ignore for me off the current form, and just as you pointed out, looks like one who should move forward off of strong and steady works. But the race in between that our secret agent had, just no kind of trip between horses, stuck wide, competitive enough, and who knows, third race of the form cycle, she may be willing to move forward again. This is an improving 3-year-old in just her third start at 4. I would actually argue she's comparatively unexposed, and might take some beating in this spot if Boardroom doesn't fire her best shot. I like the race 7-6. It sounds like you've got it down 7-5.
Yeah. And if we're talking about verticals, right, I think because we give out picks in the horizontal bets, so who could potentially win? If I were to put a second place horse up there, I think it's Amalfi Costa sitting on a big one and is going to be able to have the best finish late. So that's kind of where I go with if we're playing the who's going to finish second behind Boardroom.
But you don't need to list Amalfi in your official picks, or do you want me to?
No.
You want me to throw her in there?
Nope.
All right. Yeah, I felt like maybe I'm wrong about this. I mean, she did run the race looks pretty good in the chart, but watching it live, we backed her that day, and it felt like a pretty fortunate win, and the time that you wanted to have her. And I'm sticking with that, maybe perhaps too stubbornly in this spot. It would certainly be no surprise, I'd argue, with no one who wanted to use, especially for underneath. But I'm with you. I don't need in my official horizontal reckoning of the race. Let's move on to race number 11, because I just remembered, Drew, we have a whole other segment we're going to cover when we're going to go through this Queen's Plate runner by runner. That's going to take a minute. But first, let's talk about the nightcap 3 and up, $25,000 claimers going 1 mile on the inner turf. Looks like there's plenty of speed signed on in the spot. How are we going to get paid?
Yeah, I'm going to single here with the number 2 U.S. Army Corps. I think it's just going to be the best speed, and in these type of lower events, that's going to be the best here. So I'm going the number 2 U.S. Army Corps. I gave a couple other long looks, but I'm going to stick with that one.
All right, that makes sense. I mean, I was worried that with the other speed horses that go here seemingly with chances in the 10 Race for Pinks and the 11 Fadan, that they're going to have to use so much speed that it's going to set up for something to come from at least a little farther back. That brought me around to a horse that I'm guessing is the morning line favorite. That's number 8, War Bomber. I think he's going to get a fantastic trip. I love the fact that he's got enough speed to get position ahead of the deep closers, but I think he's also got enough finish to pass them all. The long shot I wanted to include, or horse at least I think will be a long shot, is number 3, Fifth Season, who I thought with the right kind of hold-up ride was one that had the chance to be best late. Maybe if War Bomber gets caught up in that pace or moves too soon, it could set up for Emma Jane to come rolling down the center on Fifth Season. I had it 8-3 to close things out, and you had it the 2. Any other thoughts on Woodbine Saturday, or should we move things along and talk about a really interesting and competitive running of the Queen's Plate?
Yeah, I have a couple other spot plays that we will post written on the blog for Saturday's card. And I wanted to comment too on these N2L ranks at Woodbine. Sometimes these are stepping stones for graduation, and sometimes they're stuck in Billy Madison world, repeating third grade over and over again, trying to get out of the N2L rank. So the number 8 War Bomber makes all the sense in the world. I wanted to back what you had said there.
Okay, I like the sound of that. So do you and Matt Bernier have some deal where only one of you can have a beard? What's going on there?
Wait, did Matt shave? I haven't looked at him.
Matt is clean. He was clean shaven on Horse Player Happy Hour yesterday.
We'll see. We'll see. I was telling Nancy it's growing just in time for fall, but it's like I think 98% humidity here in Chicago.
Yeah, you're a little early for fall, my friend. It's tropical up here, and not the most exciting forecast for the next few days. But I am hoping we can dance through the raindrops in Saratoga and get turf racing in. And it looks like the weather's going to be okay up in Woodbine. Again, fingers crossed on that famous last words, but hopefully everything will come into hand for us this weekend. Craig, I don't remember if we made another graphic for the Queen's Plate runner by runner portion of the show. If we didn't, don't worry about it. We can, oh my goodness, look at, there he is, Johnny on the spot. I say it here, it comes out there. This makes no sense unless you're watching on our YouTube channel, which I do encourage people to do, just to see the fancy graphics that Craig makes, if nothing else, and to see things like commenting on Drew's facial hair and my hat choices. But anyway, let's talk about this Queen's Plate. I think it's a fascinating running of this race. There are a lot of ways to go. I'm going to be doing a runner by runner write-up over at theraces.com. But let's roll through this field in runner order. A quick thought on each, Drew, and then we'll give a selection as we get to the end. You can show your hand as much or as little as you want. But we start off talking about safe conduct. And certainly the first thing that leapt off the PPs to me was the booking of Arad Ortiz Jr. aboard this Phil Serpy trainee. The horse has decent form on the grass. The difference in class between open races in New York and restricted to 3-year-old Canada bred races, I can see why some people are landing in this corner, but I'm a little concerned about the lack of synthetic form and the way that the horse finished in the lone 10 furlong try, granted against much better. But this was too many questions for me to take a runner at single digit odds.
Yeah, I was going to lean on you to hear what you thought of the back class of this one running against some of the NYRA circuit runners. To me, it feels like there's $1 million on the line. Let's see if we can't go grab it.
And he could be the best horse in the race. That's absolutely possible. There's just too many questions for me. It's not a horse I would be lining up to try to bust out of the number completely, but not a horse I can key around.
Yeah. And you don't like to see when it does get washed off and a different surface than just turf, right? And I know slop is not synthetic by any means, but ran a clunker, kind of wonder, is the synthetic going to be, that changes surface a clunker as well, right? Turf much more similar to synthetic than slop is to synthetic, but you get the point. I'm questioning it as well, especially at the short price.
Take us through your thoughts on number 2, Harlan Estate.
Yeah, I think the form is exposed a bit. Interesting to see this runner close into the slowish paces, though, last time and get the win.
I like that.
You can't beat that jockey-trainer combination as well. So it is an interesting one, the number 2 Harlan Estate, especially at the price we're going to get at 12-1. And by the way, I've never seen this. They updated the morning lines on me. So I had 15-1. Now it's 12-1. So I'm not going crazy that they're moving on me.
I'm not sure what happened. Maybe Ernie released an early version of the lines and then had a chance to grind on it a bit more. Who knows?
Well, about forgiveness here.
Yeah, not a big deal, but it is interesting. I feel similarly. The horse has solid local form, looks a bit below the standard of what it would normally take to win a race like this, but you do have the fact that the race might really be run to suit. There's a world in which the pace heats up and sets up for a closer, and that's the kind of situation when you could see a horse who's light on figures run better than ever before, where the pace supersedes what you're seeing in terms of your finals. The meets leading rider certainly adds to the appeal. This is a double-digit long shot who's live, so we'll leave it there. We'll leave it there for now. But I'm a bit intrigued. Needs to be every bit of that 12-1 for me, but I'm intrigued by this horse.
You have to imagine, as I dig even deeper, that people are going to see Rock Your World, Beer Can Man, who's been running great of late. I believe that November race, Beer Can Man got loose. You got to think people are going to start seeing those household names and bet this one down, don't you? Because
I hope not.
They ran well behind those horses.
Yeah. No, I hope not. But if that's the case, you can have them, and I'll find something else, because there's a lot of different ways you can go in this spot. Let's talk quickly about number 3, Hadassah. Talented gelding, third career start, room for upside. But another one, as with so many of these, the distance is a big question. And I'm not quite sure what kind of trip this horse is going to get. Showed speed last time. I was thinking you might see more patient tactics today. I just felt like this is a horse that's going to probably be low double-digit odds and should be low double-digit odds. I just didn't have any angle in on the horse, but I can't eliminate him.
Yeah. For number 3, Hadassah, has gotten some good trips. On the 2021 debut, Town Cruise did get away a bit loose, so you can kind of put an asterisk next to that where Town Cruise was loose. I think has the speed and tactical. As we turn for home, I think this one's going to give you some excitement. Whether or not can see the full distance, I think it's still to be the question.
Number 4, Take a Chance. I'll let you lead the discussion.
Yeah, Take a Chance. I think it's a very interesting runner for the speedster who had a sneaky bad trip first off the bench, then came back, got the job done, setting those hot fractions and hanging on for the win. If no one goes, speed can be very deadly at these longer distances.
Ask Mighty Heart.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Look back to last year. So I'm here with this one. My trip note on June 20th is sneaky bad trip, having to wait behind a couple 18-1 shots, while the wider horses around the far turn got that clear sailing and were able to run very well. So July 11th got the job done. So number 4, Take a Chance at 20-1. A bit interesting from a pace dynamic for me.
I couldn't have said it any better. I'm not like a huge fan. Doesn't particularly shape like the added ground is going to help. And I could see somebody else in a big race like this taking the bull by the horns and putting pressure early. But I'm not going to blame anybody, especially if the price is really 20-1. I mean, you could be looking at the Mighty Heart 2.0, I mean, that was a horse I wasn't sure how I was going to see out the trip, and it should have been other pace in there and just got loose. And obviously, if now here's the bad news. We're not going to really know if the synthetic surface is speed favoring because there's only the one other synthetic race on the card. But in my original note, I did write upgrade if the track appears speed favoring. I should probably cut that line because who knows what it's going to be. But we'll see. We'll see how speed does on Saturday. And if the weather doesn't change, maybe we could use that to shade the price you'd be willing to take one way or another. I'm probably going to go in another direction, but I don't blame anybody for taking a chance on Take a Chance. Let's talk about there you go. Let's talk about number 5, HC Holiday. So I'm going to be pretty pithy in my remarks about all these runners coming out of the plate trial, just because I'm taking a dim view of that form in general, considerably slower than the Oaks. HC Holiday finished first across the wire in a claimer, DQ'd from that. Kimura goes and shows up on Harlan Estate. This is a deserving long shot. I don't have much to say.
Same. More or less the same. I think I had the easiest trip and just kind of dropped anchor. So yeah, HC Holiday, I don't really see it. You could make an argument though that maybe in those small races, odd tactics can happen, right? Odd things really work out. See Marcuja from last month or whatever, however many weeks ago that was. You go back to the July and June races, much better, but I just don't think it has another step forward. So not much else to say.
More on Maracuja later in the show when we get to the Alabama. Number 6 is Money for Row. Fixed odds people, pay attention. If 9-2 appears, I think she's going to be shorter than that at post time. Let's just put it that way. What do you think of her chances?
Yeah, Money for Row is an interesting one. I was originally against this one in the Oaks. I was actually pretty against this one, but really proved me wrong. And I think ran a great race, but had a bit of a pace setup. So I think some people may say, well, but hey, look, July 10th still closed into the neutral fractions and was pretty darn close. I think with the extra distance, this one could continue to improve. Very interesting live runner for me.
I think so. I mentioned the Woodbine Oaks came back fast. That's often a key prep for this. And this horse just looked strong in victory to me that day and shapes like one who'll appreciate the added distance. That idea is confirmed by the Equine Edge genetic strength rating, where she comes out on top. And then I did the old school manual dig, and you see big stamina influence in AP Indy on the female side of the pedigree. So I think I think Money for Row is going to love this test. And you make an excellent point. She definitely got a setup the last day. I think she's going to get one here as well, thanks to Take a Chance and hopefully, whether or not it's Take a Chance winging out there or a proper speed duel, I think she's going to get the trip and be very difficult to down here. How short of a price do I want to take? I mean, I would take the 9-2. I'd probably take 4-1. Shorter than that, I'm not so sure, just because it is a very competitive race. But this one is going to be at the center of a lot of what I'm doing in here in terms of our USA style exotics. Number 7, Riptide Ride. This is an interesting one where the figure monkey in me wants to like this horse because that was a very fast race on the clock. But in my life, I don't know how many times I've seen the 6 furlong to 10 furlong stretch out work. Gosh, if Matt Vagvolgyi is watching and wants to run some numbers on that, I'd love to hear how that stat goes, going 6 to 10. I mean, you don't see it very often is one thing, but still, with Riptide Rock on the previous form, you would have maybe guessed that the distance would be within the scope. This is a horse who I think at double digits, just based on the figure, I would find some ways to include, but I don't trust whatsoever and might catch money, right? This horse was listed as amongst the favorites on the USA morning line here. What do you think?
Yeah, number 7, Riptide Rock. I originally was with you, right? Fluke buyer. What the heck are they doing? But you go back and look at the horse's PPs. This one was kind of meant to route. So running to Oaklawn, doing the mile in the 16th, and running some solid progressive type of numbers. Ran into the Monmouth off-track event. We'll scratch a line through that, and then came back just to see, like, hey, how. My opinion is they found a 6 furlong event and said, hey, let's see how this one goes, and closed into the slow fractions and did it amazingly. Which, if you take a step back and look at it, holy cow, that one was able to get up, get the job done in a sprint fashion, which is a very difficult thing to do when there wasn't a pace collapse in that race. So today gets the even longer distance, which again, this runner has ran 4 of the 6 races at route distances. I think this one could be interesting, and maybe that this one has found the calling on the synthetic here. Again, you're going to need more than 6-1 to get my attention. I'm hoping this one floats up a little bit, but anything at 6-1 or less, count me out. But still, I'm siding with that 88 is a positive signal, and that it's just a stepping stone to longer.
Yeah, you're actually making me like the horse more as you talk it through. I think I'll try to keep on side. And what I mean by that is even if the horse is bet and I end up keying off Money for Row, I'll have some 7-6s in the mix. There's too many positives with Riptide Rock for me to leave out. Let's move on to number 8, Keep Grinding. Might be my favorite name in the race, Drew. What do you think of this one's chances?
Yeah, the number 8, Keep Grinding, evenly ran last out, continues to improve, but I don't like that the runners that this runner has a bit of a lugging issue down the lane. They don't really they call it gamely, but I drifted 6 or 7 lengths from the 16th pole to the wire, and so yeah, you're going to add some extra distance here. I feel like that's sometimes a sign of tiring. Don't hold me accountable for that statement, but I think when we're going to stretch out longer and be even more tested, you don't like to see a horse who's drifting around. So number 8, Keep Grinding, I think is interesting, but kind of falls into that general bucket category for us of clunkers that are going to be middle of the pack at the end of the day.
And this one is listed as the favorite too. So, I mean, if Ernie's right about that 4-1 guess, I'm okay opposing this horse. I'm not sure about the distance. Again, that's true of a lot of horses. I definitely see Keep Grinding getting an excellent trip position forward, but off the speed. The horse is a contender, but not an exciting one. I would have as more of a 6-1 chance, and I wouldn't be cutting in line to bet at that number either. So I'd probably go in a different direction. But again, if I have a horse I'm keying, I'll find some ways to get some coverage because it's just too logical based on the figures and form. Number 9, Go Take Charge, for me is a very quick one. Never run fast enough to make the frame in a race like this. Anything to add?
Yeah, I think this is a good life lesson. When you find a trip note on a 2-year-old and it comes back he comes back as a 3-year-old, you gotta kind of break ties eventually here. I had a trip note out from November 20th. Was made a couple moves in that race, and then hasn't been able to really put anything together in the 3-year-old campaign. So However much I feel a fanboy for Go Take Charge, I haven't seen the step forward. It's time to move on until this one proves me wrong.
All right, number 10, Dance Some Mo, well-bred gelding by Uncle Mo. Your thoughts?
I think we'll be part of the pace, but doesn't project to get the distance. We'll give you some excitement down the back stretches this one is on or near the lead, because it seems to be the only way this one might have a chance to win. So Dance Some Mo at 12-1. Interesting price, but don't think it's going to see the distance.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Uncle Mo can get the distance, and this extended female family has other plate winners in it. So I thought on a breeding angle, Dance Some Mo was pretty darn interesting, actually. I don't know if the horse is good enough, but this would be another one like Harlan Estate that I'm considering trying to get somewhere in the mix. Maybe the hands he's in lead, famous trainer heading north of the border might also mean that the price is shorter than what I want it to be. But I was thinking this was a horse on his paper could be 10 or 12-1 that you could tell some stories about. So I'm curious about Dance Some Mo. I take a brighter view than you on that one. Number 11, Avoman, the plate trial winner. We talked about this already. I'm trying to beat the runners that came out of that race, and Avoman will be no exception to that.
Yeah, I like Avoman a little bit. I think had a sneaky trip last out, making moves around that far turn going wide, and continues to stretch out. And I think Danny Mac is going to have this one primed, especially when you see two of those awesome 59 workouts sandwiched right between that plate trial. I think that was a complete workout for this horse. If you notice, Truffle King out gallops Avoman by 10 lengths or something like that. Truffle King, not entered in here in this race today. But I think Danny Mac is sneaky about this one, and the number 11 Avoman has some potential, I think.
The 12 is Tidal Forces. What did you end up doing with this Emma Jane Wilson ridden Samsun Farm runner?
Yeah, didn't really have an excuse last out, and to not get up into the money. I think there's better horses in this card, especially the wide draw. It's going to be really tough with that first turn coming up, and we do project the pace to be a little quick. So number 12, Tidal Forces, I think, should be 30-1.
Yeah, long shot. The only creative thing I could say is if you wanted to tell a positive story, maybe a runner that's better coming from off the pace as opposed to on the pace. But at the end of the day, I couldn't see it. The 13 is Dursky, the pace setter in the plate trial. Feels to me pretty exposed, hasn't run fast enough to be heard from when it counts against this type of competition. But how do you see it?
Same. Yep. Had everything go Dursky's way. Didn't check at the 8th pole. Again, I didn't see it. I didn't study it tremendously much, but was out of gas at the 8th pole. So I think that trip note should be changed to out of gas at the 8th. I don't see this one getting the distance either.
Let's get to the verdict for this year's Queen's Plate, Drew. For me, as I mentioned, I'd back money for Rowe at that 9-2 of the morning line. If I was doing paper picks, which I am, that would be the one I would want listed first. The two prices that I keep coming back to that I want to have in the mix for sure are the 2, Harlan Estate, and then the 10, Dance Some Mo. Very, very interested in both of those potentially to mess around and then maybe cover with some of the logicals in some other exotic type bets. But 6-2-10 for me in this year's Queen's Plate. How do you see it?
Yeah, for betting purposes, whatever picks we give out, right? If anything gets smashed below 5-2, I think it's time to reevaluate and just watch the race. Do you agree with that statement?
Of course, yeah. Look, it's the Queen's Plate. I'm going to find a way to bet it. It might be a smaller bet or a cold exacta, or I'll find a way to bet. I'm not going to pass. But I'll tell you that right now. But in terms of making betting real money, of course, you've always got to let the prices and the value be your guide, or you're going to go broke very quickly.
Right. Well, and so I say that because, look at the will pays or the probables going into this race. And if you are attached and hooked onto one of these maybe shorter priced horses, try and find something to connect up with. So anyways, back to our top picks here. The number 11 Avoman is my number 1 pick. I think that that trial was just merely a stepping stone. This one has much more effort and should have a perfect pace setup to run into. I'm going to be between the number 7 Riptide Rock. I think there's going to be a lot of fun variability with this one, especially if the price drifts up. If it drifts down, I'm with you. Number 6, Money for Row. You can't knock anything this one has done. And then we can't go on without talking about the number 4, Take a Chance. At the big odds, this one will be might just get loose and run on with it. So I am on the 11, 7, 6, and the 4.
It's a fun race. I'm really excited to see how it plays out on Sunday. I'm going to be on Sky, so I'll be watching with great interest. You and I will do our final answers Queen Plate show. We'll thank Drew Coatney to end this segment, and we'll thank our presenting sponsors of today's show, our great friends at Woodbine. It's so much fun working with them on a variety of projects, and we look forward to doing more throughout the year. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers.
Just a reminder that the LRF Cares Handicapping Challenge is nearly upon us. LRF Cares, the charity arm of Little Red Feather Racing, our friends over there, helping get money to aftercare programs where it's most needed. And this is a way you can help and have some fun at the same time. September 4th, 2021. You can play online. You can play at Del Mar. It costs $500 and it's for a great cause. To learn more, go to our pretty link, inthemoneypodcast.com/LRF. Sign up today. You have to enter the contest by 12 Pacific time on September 3rd. So you can't leave this to the last minute. Plan ahead, get involved. LRF Cares Handicapping Challenge 2021. Learn more at inthemoneypodcast.com/LRF. Next up on the show, very happy to be joined by a key contributor over at inthemoneypodcast.com and some of the work he's done with our In the Money Plus service as well. One of the people I want to talk to when I'm betting the races in New York. That's a fairly extensive list, but he's definitely right there at the top of it. Speaking of accomplished tournament player, Matt Vagvolgyi. Matt, how are things?
Doing well, Pete. Doing well. Getting close to the end here, and got to get those live track visits in, as we were discussing before, because NHC taking a week away, so I gotta get them in while I can.
Yeah, we should probably have you on that show too. I could have half done my NHC preview show with the guests on today's show, but how are your preparations going for the big NHC?
Good. I mean, this is where I think, I don't want to say being data dependent, but having that as part of your handicapping process, which it is for me all the time. That's where it's a big help to me in the NHC, because you can get a lot of work done ahead of time. And I think that's where something like Stats Racelines comes into play for me. You build those angles, you put them in there, they automatically update for all the tracks that you've used. So, it's different track lineup this year, but it's a lot of tracks that I play. So I'm well ahead of the game than I usually am.
It's okay what the answer of this question is. You can answer it honestly, but if you had a chance to mess around with Equinedge yet, it seems like a tool. There's some interesting proprietary metrics in there. I could see you, making some noise with potentially.
It's part of the mix this year. That's not just trying to give the answer
the sponsor. That is the answer I wanted,
right? Yeah. But which I can answer differently if that wasn't the case. But no, it is. It's something that I did the free trial through In the Money, and those are some of the things, like different angles, especially first time starters, or just looking at like different ways you value horses through these different algorithms. Again, do you automatically rely on it? No, but I've noticed with that platform, with Equinedge, that it's very good. Just to be flat out honest with you, that just running the simulated tickets, and gave him a shout out a while ago, hitting I had a pick 5 for almost $4,000, just messing around. I didn't have time to handicap. I figured I'll throw in $100 and see what happens. So does it happen all the time? It doesn't. But sometimes having that assistance to help you, and when you're at a tournament like the NHC, I would give that a shot. That's just my opinion. People ask me, how do I better prepare? Use technology to your advantage and just try to build your portfolio, so to speak, of horses you want to play, and just plop them in an Excel sheet by post times. And I think that's the best way to prepare. Again, I'm not an expert at it, but that's the best way that I've prepared.
Creating a process that you can trust, whatever that is. And that's where it can get tricky for some people trying to add like too many things in on the eve of an event like the NHC. I get that. But as time goes on, whatever that process is, tracking all the races in the tournament via a spreadsheet and having, a certain steps of your handicapping you want to do. It just, the more you follow a plan, I think the less you second guess yourself, and then you can you've got to be in a really mentally good state to survive that 3-day grind and end up scoring out at the final table like you did just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and I'll say this, for anybody that's going to the NHC for the first time this year, you hit these witching hours where it just gets insane. It's your head will spin around because there are races going off everywhere. Like all 7 tracks will just hit at once, and you'll hear people cheering. You think it's this screen. No, it's not that one. It's this one. But my point of all of that, this was great advice that I got before I went out there the first time, was, yeah, you laugh about it, but it's a real thing. Like you can all of a sudden realize you missed 3 plays that you wanted to make because you were talking to somebody, or you know what I mean? Like that's how fast it can move at certain times. So I think having that plan and knowing when your races are going off, have a fair value for horses too. Like I'm willing to bet this horse at 5-1 or above. If it's 2-1, you move on to you draw a line through, you move on to the next. So I think having that level of organization, listen, I'll tell you flat out, that's how I got to the final table. If I would have been scrambling at the very end, I needed the last race to get into the final table. I knew exactly what I was going to do. It was just a matter of price. And I got off a horse at Tampa and I got on one at Fairgrounds and it worked out. So if I wouldn't have done that, I probably would have been rifling through the form looking for something and trying to bet just numbers to try to get in. So I think it's helpful. I think organization and planning outweighs a little bit of the handicapping a little bit, in my opinion.
No, I think that makes all the sense in the world as far as I'm concerned. Okay. Let's move on and talk about this Saturday pick 6. I'm almost tempted to just grab that conversation out of there and plop it in our pregame show, but that's cheating. I won't do that. We're going to have a fun NHC preview show next week that will actually do all original material this time around. So this pick 6, we start off with a very interesting looking 2-year-old maiden special weight race, or is that the second leg of this? Tell me where I got lost. Where do we start this pick 6?
It's the second leg, Pete. We're kicking it off in race number 6, which is a New York bred allowance race, going 5 and a hook.
There you go. With the fillies and mares in this spot, I'll let you kick this one off. I had a few different ideas. I was going to probably try to spread around a bit. Do you have much clarity on this race?
I'm going to lean a bit on Silky Blue. I know there's knocks against this horse, which totally understand. I mean, you look at last 2 races, lost, it's 4-5, 3-2 favorite. I understand. But I also think this horse is getting into a field that is the easiest field that this horse has faced literally since early of last year. So I like the spot. I also like the pace setup too. I think Silky Blue just sits off the pace. Saratoga Love, the 9, I think, is the pace setter, has just shown a propensity to stop. Not too concerned about a runaway winner there on the front end. So I'm going to use the 4 Silky Blue as an A. I will back up with a couple of horses. So I'm going to be a little narrow here. I am going to use the 8, which is the 8-5 morning line favorite. I tried to dismiss this horse and just try to beat. And I know sometimes you want to get off horses like this if you have an opinion elsewhere. But listen, if I've noticed in these 5.5 furlong sprints that horses I don't expect just gun to the lead, and it changes the pace dynamic completely. If that happens, I want to be prepared for it. I think that's the ace, Cocapelli, where you're going to get that type of run. Every race this horse has run 2 for 3. Every race this horse has run is closing to a fast pace. So if the pace is on, this is the horse that you want. So I'm going to use both of those. I'm going to use both of those there, as well as I'm going to throw in the 7 as well, the important one. I just think fits. And again, it's a horse I don't want to get beat by, so I'm going to include that horse as a B. But those are the 3 primarily I'm going to use in the first leg here.
2 of our 3 are the same. I had Cocapelli on top. I just thought deserved another chance after the flop last time. Plenty of time since. I'm much more forgiving of races that precede layoffs. Nice looking recent works, especially the local move. She just showed so much promise on the first 2 starts. I thought she was the most likely winner. But I also did like Silky Blue, who I thought would get a great forward trip. And I wanted to note that the form of that last race is working out pretty well. My B horse at what I'm hoping will be a halfway decent price in this spot is number 3, Awesome Roar. Lost her chance at the break last time. I thought deserved one more chance to see what she could do on this circuit. She does have some back races fast enough. So I've got it 8, 4, and then 3 on the B line in race 6. And then here's this race I was so eager to talk about. I tried to start the sequence with it. Race number 7, these 2-year-old maidens going 6.5 on the dirt. Tugel and I covered it over on Baby Talk. Definitely worth listening to those shows if you're not already. Got some good winners have come out of that, including some really nice prices. I've had some prices run in underneath. Tugel's coming up with some horses that win right on top, including that Medaglia d'Oro giant horse. Not to bring up sore memories with you, Matt. I know you were alive to the entire pick six pool as a result of your coming up with that horse. But anyway, we also gave that one out over on Baby Talk. But this race, I like number 2, My Prankster, a big ticket item. He's buying to mischief out of a dam who won her debut and was a stakes winner. This thing cost $600,000. Fast works as well. Definitely won on the A line. Seal Beach was a horse who I thought had trouble early and late on debut. Made my watch list then and will definitely be an A. And then the third A I wanted to use. Now, this is a horse I will definitely be taking a look at how he's being bet in the doubles. Because if he's not taking money, I will still use, but it will be more of a token use. If he's taking money, I want him as a straight up A and could almost make him the top pick if he was catching money. Reserve Currency. Sold at a 2-year-old in training sale for 50 times the sire's stud fee. American Freedom, that sire, off to a great start with juveniles. The dam has dropped 3 winners from 3 starters. Chad Brown needs no introduction. I've got this one 218. How do you see it?
Similar. I am going to throw the 4 in Skate to Heaven. Just Diodoro's numbers are off the charts. So I have to use this horse. I think the horse is training well. Also 24% with first time 2-year-olds plus 28% ROI. I just feel like I don't want to get beat by a horse and say it was right in front of you. Just use the darn horse. But I like the other 2 they had, the 2 and the 8. Again, not to add too much there. I also did back up with the 6 that you liked, Seal Beach. I thought the 5 was a little interesting. That's one, as you mentioned, the double Will Pays. This is one I want to pay attention to. It's kind of the other Pletcher. I want to see if there's any sneaky money maybe coming into this horse. I don't have too much beyond that. I definitely want to check out that show because this was a confusing race for me. I'm going to use 3 A's here. I'm going to go 2, 4, 8 as A's, and I'll back up with the 5 and 6. I'm kind of guessing a little bit here, but hopefully after I get done with that analysis, I'll be a little bit sharper, Pete.
I like what you're saying about the including the Diodoro runner. That makes sense. And it's funny. I did this host fail. I wrote it wrong in my notes and forgot to correct it. Seal Beach is the 6, not the 1. So 2, 6, 8 for me. For Matt, 2, 4, 8, 6. And with that, we will turn the page to race number 8. We've got 3 and up claimers, $35,000 going 7 on the dirt. Matt, what wins this?
So I'm going to use I'm going to go with a logical horse here. I'm going to lean on it a bit too, which is the number 4 Identity Politics, 9 to 5 in the morning line again. I read Chad. I understand some breaks in the running line. So there's things that you can knock this horse for, but I just feel again it gets into a race that's just well below what this horse is run against. I think is the class of the field. Has success at 7 furlongs. I think looks to be best on paper here. Now it's a lone A, but I'm going to be using the B's quite a bit here too. I know that's confusing to say, but it's how I rank the race of, I do like a horse I think stands out, but I am going to back up with my B horses a bit more. I threw this stat out there on Twitter the other day. This one comes back around again for Clairvich Stables, just knocking it out of the park with their a drop 5 points better on the Equibase class scale. It fits the 4 Identity Politics here. 46% winners plus 77% ROI. It just tells me that they know how to place these horses properly. So backs up with that, the number 4 as the A. I did like some other horses in here though. I thought the number 5 could be up close on the pace. I thought has, at a price, I think might be able to shake away here and get clear, although it may have some pressure from the inside with the 2 as well. So the 2 pace horses I like up front were the number 2. Number 2 is Golani Brigade, and then and also the number 5 up front. But I can also make a case for the 9. There's a Storm Bruin, I thought, as well, being up close on that pace as well. So the reason why I want these pace horses is this track's going to be drying out. I think I'm going to pop over for breakfast tomorrow just to take a look to see what the condition is. We got a lot of rain here, ton of rain. So when the track's drying out, based on the numbers that I've run in different, whether it's sloppy, good, wet fast. If you get a good wet fast track, front end speed, I know it's been the story, so to speak, on the dirt. In those types of conditions, it's off the charts. So I want horses that are forwardly placed. I think the track might carry them a bit. So I'm going to use few more of the horses on the pace. But again, I think it sets up for a horse coming off it like Identity Politics. So I want to have a bit of both there. So those are the horses I'm going to focus on using in race number 8.
You're making a very good point about trying to figure out. I couldn't figure out who the best of speed was going to be and ended up not using any of the 5, 2, and 9. But for me, I do want to try to work them in there. We have the same top pick, Identity Politics, getting back to what might be the better surface. Should be a great setup to run down the speed. You made the rest of the case. I had a couple of price horses hopefully price horses to get in the mix as well, both of whom I think will be a little bit further off the pace. But I definitely want striking speed somewhere, dropping out of a race where it's just absolutely horrified by the likes of Bo Liam and Witzel, 2 very good ones, stakes level type horses. This is the level striking speed belongs at, and he fits off the race 2 back. And then Vulcan, I thought was interesting, the 3. A first-time gelding, when you pace map this race, should get a great stalk and pounce trip. I thought Vulcan was a very interesting option as well. So I had it 4-7-3, but I like what you said. I probably am I don't want to end up upside down if the favorite wins. So I'll definitely run some extra lines through Identity Politics, but I'm either going to grind and try to narrow down, but I need something from that group of the 2, 5, and 9. Just looking at it again quickly, maybe it's Golani Brigade who I need to include at least as a B in this spot. As the presumptive best speed. If I made you pick only one of the speeds, which one would you go with?
I think probably the best is the 2. I would agree with you there. Off the layoff, I think it's just going to be ready to run. If I had to pick, I would say on the inside, I go with Golani Brigade as the speed of the speed. And kind of carries them all the way around. But again, you never know. I mean, it's just, with a tough break or something like that. Do I want to get beat by a nice price with Charlie 5-0? I don't. Right. I think especially
if we'll have to see what the rail is doing as well. That could go either way in these drying out conditions. On a less than ideal rail, I don't give Golani Brigade any chance really with that other speed to potentially keep him down in there. So it's a tricky race. And
it is a very tricky race.
I don't hate idea at all about trying to at least have something. If you can get narrow elsewhere, have something on all 3 of those speed runners if the ticket allows. Let's move on to our stakes action. Race number 9 is the Grade 2 Lake Placid for 3-year-old fillies, going a mile and a 16th on the turf. And I thought that Ego Trip was really interesting in this spot. Brendan Walsh's runners typically improve with their racing, and this one was impressive last time. She didn't break, closed very well into a speed favoring flow. This is just start number 3 and still a maiden, but I think can make an impact in here at a price. Technical analysis, the 2, definitely a more likely winner than the one listed first, and definitely one I want to keep on side. That was a big step up last time, but looks likely to move forward again as a 3-year-old in the summer. Tactical ability to make her own trip. That could prove the critical advantage in this spot. I was also going to use a little bit of number 5, Love Struck, another progressive sort. Second start off a long layoff for Martin Velasquez. And on pace figures, maybe Love Struck can get loose in here. It's a short field, but it's a competitive race. I like it 3-2-5.
We're very similar, Pete. The one difference that I don't say difference, but the majority of my tickets as like a set play is going to be the 2 and the 3, Technical Analysis and Ego Trip. I just, like you said, the kind of the unknown a little bit of Ego Trip, but I thought that was a great race. Flew late, and I definitely want that horse on the tickets to improve. Might be much the best. Who knows? So I like that on the ticket there, because I think Technical Analysis is going to take a ton of money, which deservedly so. So I thought that was a really nice win in the Lake George. That was a tough field. I think that field is actually better than what the field is this horse is facing today. So I like that win. Can sit right off that pace and have a big run late. Theme of this pick 6, you'll hear it in the last race too, of the second time around Chads I've mentioned before. Listen, they're just off the charts, like I have buddies of mine are like, oh, here we go, back on the Chad turf route again. When they're coming back second time around and they're bet first, they're ready to go. So, and again, this horse won. So I just feel these are the 2 horses that I really want. I'm going to go Technical Analysis, Ego Trip. And I do like your opinion on the 5 as well. This is a horse I'm going to kind of have an asterisk next to because I want to see early on. I want to see how this turf course is playing, especially the front end speed. But that's a horse that can get out and just never come back again. So I'm going to back up with the 5. So we're the same, but I'm going to press very heavily on the 2 and the 3 here in race number 9.
I like the sound of it, and I definitely would want to have larger increments on technical analysis than I would Ego Trip, just to, again, not get upside down, not lose equity through the leg if a horse that I think is the most likely winner and I like for a lot of different reasons wins. But just for purposes of putting a price on top, I do officially I'm 325, but the most money in the race will go through technical analysis. Let's talk about race number 10. It's the Grade 1 Alabama 3-year-old fillies going this 1.25 miles on the Saratoga dirt. Who wins this year's Alabama, my friend?
I'm going to go back to Malathaat, the 6. For a lot, this is a great race, by the way. I think this is a great race, shortish kind of field, but I think very competitive, a lot of different ways. You can make cases for just about anybody in here. I'm just going to give a pass for that last race. It's just, short field, weird pace scenarios happen in those types of races. I think it's exactly what we saw here. Malathaat got completely off her game and got hung up quick in a fast-paced duel and got caught late. But I thought fought hard right to the line. Now, devil's advocate, you can say if you're 1-5, you should be able to shake off just about anything, right? So I agree with that. I just think this horse gets back to exactly what she wants to do, is to sit off that pace. I think played hard, which again is a horse that I'm going to include as well as a B, getting out to the lead. But I think, I call it the U-shaped pace projection on my pace projector for Malathaat. Strong early pace, average middle pace figure, and a very strong late pace figure. So settles into the race and has a nice punch at the end. I thought that's what was missing last time out. So I'm willing to give another shot to Malathaat there. I am going to include the 5, though. I thought played hard. Again, I like the ascension of the figures of this horse has gotten better. Steps up, gets better. Steps up, gets better. Going to be stepping up again, obviously, here, but I think it's going to be on the front end. If this track is speed favoring, and you notice that early on, that's why it's important to watch those races heading in. If you're just playing the pick 6 or pick 5, watch those races leading up. Could steal this thing. So I certainly want to have the 5 on some tickets as well. And if there's a speed duel, I liked Army Wife a little bit too. Top late pace figure for me. If it does get heated up up front, I think this is the horse you want coming off of it. I think it's going to get left off the tote a bit in terms of betting, so it'll be a nice price. And I think that's the horse I want really coming deep off the pace if there's if there's some fast fraction. So a lot of different ways that you can go. I wouldn't argue if you wanted to go to Crazy Beautiful either. I think you can make excuses for a lot of those races, and really hasn't done much wrong. But the races you expected more, I think you can put some excuses in there too. So a lot of different ways you can go. The 3, Clairiere, again, I can go on with every horse, but the horses that I like, I'm going to press with Malathaat, giving this horse another shot. I also do like the 5, maybe stealing this thing on the front end at a big price.
All right. Good stuff from you. We agree about Malathaat. And this is funny. I think she was ridden exactly correctly last time from the rail in a short field, but that led to her being seen to something less than her best effect. This time, I think she's going to be the hunter instead of the hunted. I think she just might put on a show, given that the other thing we got to pay attention to here is the 10 furlong distance and who's going to like that. I think Malathaat will. I think she's going to make up for that defeat last time and win this year's Alabama. I was a little more master of the obvious in terms of the backups I was going to go with. Clairiere on pedigree, I needed to use going 1.25 miles, and also was probably a little bit disadvantaged. I think that the early speed she showed trying to keep things honest last time took the sting out of her finish. I think she's another who'll be better from coming off the pace. I want a little bit of her. And then Maracuja, the winner of the Oaks. What a great ride that was, and she was the beneficiary of it. She could certainly run in the number once again. I can't shake the feeling that last time was the time you wanted to have her, but I'm also not going to be sitting on nothing if I'm all A's to this point and Maracuja wins. I'll leave her in as a backup. 6 for A strong with the 3 and the 4 as backups. And that leads us to our nightcap 3-and-up filly and mares, maiden special weights, 1 mile on the inner turf with 100,000 in the kitty. How are we going to get paid?
Here's my recurring theme again. I'm going to use the 2 Chads here. They fit this profile perfectly. I think split then double, and then the 9 So Enchanting. That's going to be another key set for me. any type of improvement from these horses. Now I like the 4 split the double a little bit better, but I think the 9 So Enchanted could have a better trip, right? With these turf routes. So again, I think you have a runaway pace setter. That's not much to worry about up front. I think the 10 might be up there as well, which is let's go native. Again, I don't see, again, second time out could improve, but I don't see much in terms of a fear factor there with Shook's horse. So I like these 2 horses quite a bit. Third off the layoff for split then double. Just thought had some really nice efforts prior. And I think this might be the race to get it done. I know it's the obvious, but and the 9 as well, closed into some moderate paces, just missed. I think might actually get like I said, the better trip out of the 2. Another one I'm going to throw in there. I like this horse first time out as a bomb and ran very well was the 6 Ingress. If this horse improves, might be trouble. So I certainly don't want to leave this horse out of it. I had this horse the last time, finished 4th, just beaten 3 1/4. So again, an improvement can put it in the mix. I just think these chads are pointed perfectly second time around. I know I keep saying it, but in a pick 6, if you can find that and you're confident in it, which they've hit and they've helped me cash some nice tickets, I'm going to go back to the well here. So 4, 9 as A's. I'm going to back up with the 6 as well. Ingress as a B.
Very similar. I took a little bit dimmer of a view of So Enchanting as opposed to split then double, but I mean, obviously So Enchanting should be on tickets, and I will list as a backup for me. Ingress was my top pick. Showed enough on debut to me, closing into slow fractions. Normal second out improvement should bring this one along. Split then double is a very, very legitimate favorite for me. Unlucky to have not won the Maiden the last 2 times. The form of each of those races working out well. Extremely live chance. Ingress doesn't have to improve that much to get ahead of her, though. Split then double might get unlucky once again, but it's 6-4 for me on the A line. And then we mentioned So Enchanting. The other one I want on the B line is Gauff. Just looks very strong on her blood for winning connections. Should get a good trip from this inside draw. I'm interested to see what she can do first time out for Brad Cox. And just a really super goofy one that is really just a stab, remembering from years past seeing Roy Lerman win some big races up here. But I'd like to have, this horse might not end up being live to Mayhap the 11 because it's going to be so little money that I run through her. But this is the kind of horse, if I'm alive to a score in a pick bet, that might be a lazy 100 on a horse like this at 20, 30, you name it, to 1. Again, no real angle other than, Roy Lerman, somebody who has over the years managed to, I don't want to say put some horses over. Let's just say win with some big prices up at Saratoga. I might have a nickel in that direction. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the nightcap. Any closing thoughts for you, Matt, on this Saturday pick 6 or the NHC or anything else you have on your mind?
I think this is a great card. Pick 6, I'm definitely playing. The pick 5, I'll get involved in. I would say in terms of the NHC, this is a great example of Ingress being a tournament play, right? Because you've got a couple of chads that are going to take a bunch of money. I think you get a halfway decent price on Ingress, and I think you could that would be a play for me there. So just look, it's kind of funny as you were talking. I'm like, that's a perfect tournament play on the 6 there. So, but no, great card. I hopefully the weather pans out. The sun is actually out that I'm seeing right now, so that's certainly a good thing. But we got a ton of rain, so interested to see what the track looks like, and certainly pay attention early. I think that might change a few horses I have a little bit based on the track, but I don't think too much. But no, great card, and looking forward to it.
Well, obviously, you do this naturally, but particularly when you point out something like that, give us your thoughts on Twitter there, Matt. We'll get the conversation going about what we think the track is doing. You can follow Matt at BlinkersOn 22, I believe it is. Is that did I get that right?
Yep, you got it right. Yep.
Excellent. Good stuff. All right, Matt Vagvolgyi, have a great weekend. Hopefully we'll see you over there.
Sounds good, Pete.
There's a lot of interesting contest stuff coming up. I say this as we're on the eve of the NHC, but I'm already thinking ahead to September and this major Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge qualifier that's happening at Canterbury Park. It's the Big 10 contest for the Breeders' Cup. It is happening on September 16th. It's a $3,000 live bankroll contest, but what you're seeing up there on the screen now, that's about the satellite contest to win your way in to the big contest on the 16th. This one takes place on the 11th of September, and it's very easy to get your way in. Low bankroll entry in this Canterbury Park Big Ten Satellite Contest. To learn more about the Satellite and the Big Breeders' Cup Qualifier, go to canterburypark.com. To learn more, that's canterburypark.com. Next up on the show, very happy to hear from our partners at Monmouth Park. Going to be talking about this Iselin Day Win Early Pick 5 and the Iselin Stakes itself. To do it with us, we have, first and foremost, from Monmouth Park. Looks like he's in his office there. Early bird gets the worm and all that. Brian Skirka, how are things?
I'm doing great, Pete. Thanks for having me as always. And how are you?
Things are great. Things are great. A little bit rainy here in Saratoga Springs as we record this on a Thursday morning, but looks like hopefully things will clear up in time for the weekend. And it sounds like we've got good weather x the normal summertime chance of thunderstorms down at Monmouth on Saturday. In addition to Brian, to chat about this card here with us, we have from InTheMoneyPodcast.com been doing a fantastic job covering Monmouth day in and day out. He is Eric Solomon. Eric, what's going on, my man?
Not much. Good to be here, Peter.
Any chance we're going to see you back in Saratoga before the meet's over? That was fun getting to visit with you and the little one a little bit earlier in the meet.
It was. I'm not sure. We've got baseball games next week, but we'll see what happens Labor Day weekend.
I like it. Looking forward also to getting back to Monmouth. The meet extends beyond the Saratoga and Del Mar seasons. Remind folks, Brian, how the Monmouth meet will continue on into September.
So we go through September 26th, and we actually added Fridays in September within the last month or so. So we're Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all the way through September 26th.
Excellent. Well, hopefully I get a chance to take the boat down and get to visit you one more time down there. Absolutely. One of my favorite racetracks is Monmouth Park. We're going to start off talking about this Win Early Pick 5. It starts, it earns its name. It starts nice and early. You'll have a couple of races in the books before Saratoga even runs their first race on Saturday. We kick things off at 12:15 Eastern with 3 and up filly and mare maiden special weights going 1 1/16 on the turf. Brian, we'll kick it off with you. How do you want to get this pick 5 started?
I want to get started off with Chad Brown. I didn't really see anything that I loved in terms of form on the horses that have run already. So there's 2 first-timers from Chad Brown. Both of them have been training for a very long time here at Monmouth. And I'm just hoping that one of the 2 of them, if not both of them, can run a little bit. Again, I didn't see much form in terms of the horses that have already run. So the 3, Bleecker Street, and the 6, Control Function, both trained by Chad Brown. Again, both have at least 10, if not more, works going back to May here at Monmouth, so should have a pretty good foundation. And I'm going to ride with the King of the Turf, Chad Brown, 3 and 6 in the first leg.
In Chad Brown, Brian Truss. Eric, is it as simple as that? Do you have any others you want to throw in the mix as we raise the curtain at Monmouth Park on Saturday?
Sure. I agree with Brian. You definitely have to use the 2 Chad Brown horses. I also want to put 2 other horses in there. I like what I've seen the last couple races from My Maggie Moo, number 9. This horse that has significantly improved in her last 2 starts. Solid. I thought the last race, 2 back on turf, was not that bad, and definitely ran a much better race on dirt last time. So this could be a horse that's just kind of growing up, rounding into form. She could prove to be tough. And then also pace factor, number 5, Vicious Velma. Not seeing a ton of speed signed on. I thought her race with Maiden Claimers back in June was pretty good. She certainly has a chance to, especially if they're not pressing her early, could take them gate to wire. So I'm really just trying to get out of this leg and move on. So I'm going to put those other 2 horses on my ticket, the 3 and the 5, along with the 9 and the 5, along with the 3 and the 6.
How would you grade those, Eric, into A's and B's, or would you look to use them all equally? And do you want to give one as a top pick?
I made my top pick very tepidly, the 9, My Maggie Moo, off of those last races, but I'm planning on using pretty much all 4 on pretty much all the tickets that I'm using.
Makes sense. Let's move on to race number 2, 12:44, the scheduled post time. 3 and up filly and mare. Nickel Claimers this time around, going 1 1/16 on the dirt. Eric, we'll keep it with you.
All right, I have two A horses here that I'm using. The 6 Scatnap is my top choice, and also going to use the 4 Topo Grigio. Scatnap, I liked I thought the last 2 races since being claimed by John McAllen were pretty good while facing considerably tougher horses. Drops back to the level where she was claimed at a few starts back. I think she makes a lot of sense here. Also looking at the 4 Topo Grigio, just completely draw a line through her last race. Just had no chance after the break, especially in the small field. Going to 2 turns here. The dam of this one is a winner of the Delaware Handicap about 15 years ago, give or take. So I think getting 2 turns again here should make sense for this one. Also another horse that may be a longer price that might be worth adding, number 3, Boomerang Miss. Not necessarily in the best form right now, but is first off the claim. Does like racing here at Monmouth, 4 for 13 in her career. I'm a little perplexed with adding blinkers on an 8-year-old mare that has had 50-some starts and hasn't used them before. But again, could be, she does look like she needs a wake up, and she does have some races that fit well here in her past. So I'm gonna use her on some of the other tickets there as a B horse.
At this level, I probably wouldn't be too nitpicky about something weird like that, but it is certainly notable, and I'm glad you brought it up. Brian, how do you see this one?
Yeah, I'm with Eric in terms of top pick, Scatnap. I thought this was an interesting race from a pace setup standpoint. It's a 7-horse field. I look at 4 of them as potential speed horses, the 1, 2, 3, and the 5. So for my early pick 5, I'm going to use all the closers, 4, 5, 7, 4, 6, 7. And just hope that one of the 3 of them can win. I mean, the 2 and the 3 are both adding blinkers on horses that already have speed. The 1 should be close, especially from the inside, and then the 5 has shown speed going 2 turns in the past. So, to me, I would be very surprised, if this field sticks together, that a quote-unquote closer or stalker doesn't win this race. Scatnap, as Eric said, I think is the best of these, and might actually be sitting the closest of the 3 stalker closers. So I'll take Scatnap as my top pick, but I'll also throw the 4 and the 7 in there. This isn't the most consistent bunch of horses in the world, so hopefully one of the closers will win, but Scatnap will probably maybe be a press on one of the tickets.
I like that idea of taking that pace-oriented approach wherever possible. It feels like when you can come up with an idea like that, it can really help you construct your tickets in a bet like this. Win early pick for 5. Let's move on to race number 3, the hinge of this early sequence. We're in the claiming ranks once again, but this time at the $12,000 level. 3 and up fillies and mares going 6 furlongs on the dirt. Brian, what will be your approach here?
Yeah, for me, this was the toughest of the 5 races. I looked at this race for the longest. I had a hard time really with all of it, figuring out a pace dynamic, what kind of horse I wanted to win. But I ended up on the 5 Charity Stripe. I did see some speed to this horse's inside. This horse seems to be pretty consistent, actually, when running in the right level. 53 starts, 16 wins, so is usually right there. Sometimes they run her a little above her head, and she struggles a little bit, but she's back in for a claimer today, 12-5. I think she should get a good trip. Just keep an eye on, I know this is only race 3, but keep an eye on how the Monmouth track is playing. Some days it goes, outside closers do well. Some days inside speed is good. It kind of alternates depending on the weather, actually. It affects it, but if this is one of the days where outside closers are doing well, I think the 5 Charity Stripe should be in a good position. But again, she's the top pick, but I wouldn't have any issue using as many as you can come up with, even if you have a single in a couple of the other races, maybe even an all button. I had trouble with this one.
That's interesting. Any specific numbers you want to check, or I can also just make a note, as many as you can afford. Sometimes I do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe the 4 horse might be tough to endorse, but other than that, I mean, maybe the 6 too, a little tough to endorse, even though it's Claudio Gonzalez. Other than that, I'd use as many as you could fit on that ticket.
All right, I like the sound of that. Eric, how do you see it?
So I definitely agree this was a tough race, but it's kind of one of those spots where I felt like this was a good spot to take a stand. And I'm going to single to the 6, Corn Off the Cob in this race. 3rd off the layoff. Really good form in 2020. You look at those races at Parks in Delaware last year. All of those races were probably good enough to beat this field. Her 2 starts this year, coming back off the layoff, have not been great, but she's faced significantly better fields. That starter allowance group on July 5th, going 7 furlongs. I think it's hard to come back off a long layoff going 7 furlongs in general. But that was a good field at Parks. Slinging Sammy B is a really tough horse in that starter allowance race over there. She 15 days later went back and met another pretty good field at Parks. $25,000 multi-condition claimers there. Above Par, who won that race, is a nice horse. She came back to win in her subsequent start. So I'm seeing this horse. I definitely improved from the first start to the second start. Now comes back to Monmouth, where she's 2 for 2. I get the significant class drop. I think she's going to be very tough in this race. That's where I'm going to draw the line here for this sequence.
Any backups at all, Eric, or stone cold single you're thinking?
If I do back up, I'll probably reluctantly go to the 2, Madam Tiger, who's just been a money burner. 5 out of 6 the last time, beaten favorite. Hasn't won since January 8th at Penn National. However, she is getting some class relief. She's been facing tougher. Again, another one coming in from Parks and Penn National. And another one that has run well here in the past. So I'll use her as a bit, but I'm going to be mostly on Corn on the Cob and hope for the best there.
Corn on the Cob, a great summer name there for that runner. Let's talk about race number 4. We've got the babies in the house, 2-year-old Maiden Phillies going 5.5. Eric, what are we going to do to get through this leg?
I'm excited for the debut of the 2-horse Koala Princess. This is a horse that her connections, Runnymede Stables for Arnaud Delacour, they campaigned the mare, who was a 2-time winner at 2, winning both races on the turf. So this one's been working well at Fairhill, and I think this horse can run a little bit. Doesn't get the strongest field, at least for the horses that have run. So I think this horse has a good shot on debut here. So that's my A. I'm going to use 2 other horses in here. Captain's Daughter, making her 3rd career start, paired her buyers, 1 start here in an off-the-turf race, and then went up to Saratoga to face New York breds. Thought that race wasn't too bad while breaking from post 10 that day and kind of being a little bit wide. Comes in, gets in, drawn inside for a 3rd career start, so appreciate the experience here. And then the 4-horse I'm Buzzy, definitely a turf pedigree for that one. Long Island Sound out of Purim mare. Might want to go a little bit further than the 5.5, but Mike Deeney certainly can get horses ready on the debut. So I'm going to put that one in there as well.
I definitely like the pedigree on Koala Princess. That sort of screams win early on turf more than ready out of the Lonbro dam. So I'm with you on that idea very much. Brian, how are you seeing this race? Who's your idea of the winner?
Yeah, not much to add. Koala Princess would be the top pick as well, based on the pedigree and everything that Eric said. I would also back up with the 4 Buzzy. He noted the pedigree. The dam was a winner on the turf. Well, the 1 horse that I'm also going to include with some experience is the 8 Witch of Love. Obviously, that race last time was not good in any way, shape, or form, but rained off the turf. But in her debut at Belmont, she was 3rd in a 5-horse field, showed speed, gets blinkers on and Ferrer on. So if this horse can get out of the gate, she will be in front. So I'm just going to include her, maybe with the experience. If the firsters don't show up, maybe she can take them wire to wire. But the 2 is definitely the top pick here, and you're also going to throw in the 4.
I have no issue ever in one of these maiden races using one with experience that has shown some ability of any kind. It seems like they do well and sometimes outrun their odds a disproportionate amount of the time. But yeah, I can't resist that firster. But that sounds like a sensible one to use as a backup as well. Let's move to the pay leg of the win early pick 5. We've got 3 and up filly and mare allowance types going a mile on the dirt. Brian, how are we going to get paid?
I'm going to try to get paid with a single. I spread in a lot of the earlier races, so I need to end it with a hopefully a single here. And even though it's a tough race, I'm going to try to stick with Misty Taste, the 3. Hopefully she could stay hot. She's won 3 in a row by open lengths. The race last time out in the slop just was an enormous buyer improvement. First off the claim for Claudio Gonzalez. So if she can get anywhere near that same kind of race, I think she's going to be very tough here. I don't think it was just the slop that made that big buyer because she's 3 for 9 on a dirt track, and her 2 previous romp wins came on fast dirt. So it wasn't one of those races that she just freaked on the mud, in my opinion. I think she'll get a decent setup here. There's a couple speed horses, one to her outside, one to her inside, and hopefully she can sit third, kind of like she did last time, and just stay hot and keep rolling.
All right. What about you, Eric? Is it as simple as Misty Tate, or do you have some other ideas of how we might close this thing out?
I'm looking to beat her, and again, I agree with, this is a horse that has 3 wins at the meet, and they're all big wins, so certainly makes sense that she's moving up in class. But that is such a huge improvement from where her numbers normally are. I just worry that she can't get near there again, on a dry track, especially. I'm on the 4 and the 7 as my top. The Daria's Angel, the 4 with Paco Lopez coming in from Belmont. Naira Shippers continue to do very well at the meet. She's in really good form, winning 2 out of her last 4 and 2 seconds in the other 2 races over there. She does have some 2-turn ability, which she's shown earlier in her career, so I'm not worried about going from 1 turn to 2 turn, even though the distances are similar. Violent Trick was a winner at this condition last time out. Was claimed out of that, so still eligible to be protected because she has not because she wasn't for the tag that day. So Jose Camejo opts to do that with her. She's another one in very good form. Also another horse that I thought was a little bit interesting as a possible add-on, the 2 Penn Street. Maybe a horse that could be coming late. I thought that one cleared the non-winners of 1 condition over at Gulfstream 2 weeks ago. As a 3-year-old taking on some of the older horses, she ran well enough early on in her career to be considered for races like the Gulfstream Park Oaks and the Devona Dale. She kind of rebooted her career after that. Came back off a layoff in the mud in a sprint. Didn't run very well that day, but definitely improved last time out. Look at Street Sense out of a Warpass mare, should improve going 2 turns on the dirt. So I think she could be a horse that might add a little price here that I'm going to put on some of the tickets.
Valid cases all around. Brian trying to get out Stone Cold to the 3. Eric has the 4 and the 7 on the A line and the 2 on the B line in race 5. It's a mammoth card at Monmouth on Saturday. If I were in the area, I would definitely be turning up. 14 races on tap. Again, starts off at 12:15, culminates with race 14 at 6:15, but the featured race of the day at 4:03 is the Grade 3 Iselin. We're going 1 mile and a 16th on the dirt here. One of the races associated with Monmouth Park. Brian, who's going to win this year's running?
So I will. I'll put I'll make my bias known early on. I think I might be driving the Code of Honor fan bus. If not, I'm definitely on it. Whether I'm driving or standing there by that little yellow line, I'm very close to the front. I honestly think I bet on this horse to win in all 16 of his lifetime starts. I'm just a fan. I think he's very good. I actually think because he hasn't run in a while, he's kind of underrated in terms of the handicap horse division. And he's, I'll admit he's not the most consistent. Every time he runs a really big race and you think, okay, this is where he's going to just become one of the top older horses in the country, he doesn't really run his next best race, but I just think he's better than these horses. He runs well fresh. He won his debut. If you look at his PPs after every layoff line, he runs a really good race. I'm hoping that on the G6 can take it to Bryce a little bit. Bryce has been on an absolute roll, the 7 horse. I get that he ran for $8,000 in a claimer 4 races back, but last time he won an allowance race by 7 lengths, dusted on a horse, Spun and Run, who has really been touted this year. So I hope someone can soften him up, but I just think Code of Honor is the class of the field. Paco Lopez is going to have him in the right spot, and I'm kind of looking at this race as a springboard to see where he goes next. Do they try to sneak him into the Breeders' Cup, assuming all goes well, obviously? Do we point to the Clark, something like that with the Pegasus? But as a fan, this is kind of a fan race for me. Just glad to see him back, glad to see him in person for the first time, and again, on the PP level, I just think he's better than me.
It may well be. I can certainly see the case looking at the form. We do have a runner with legit grade 1 form against a lot of horses who, need to prove if they can hang at that level. Let's bring in Eric Solomon, though. Are you buying the case that this is? I mean, he's certainly the horse to beat Code of Honor, but Eric, is he the horse to bet?
I agree with Brian. I think he is. I think it just on a class standpoint, he's just better than these. You look. He won the Westchester off the layoff, as Brian was alluding to last year to start his 2020 campaign. And then it just didn't go right. But you look at those races that he's lost, that they're grade 1, grade 1, grade 1, grade 2, grade 1, facing some top-level competition. So, obviously didn't go well on the Pegasus last time. Again, it's kind of another reboot and restart for this horse. And I think he can get back on track with this field here. A couple other horses maybe underneath. Brian mentioned Bryce, who has just been on fire at this meet, moving up a bit, from 8,000 to claim for 22,000 by Jerry Hollendorfer, and then dominating the allowance ranks last time. Dude, this one definitely does have a good pedigree. Certainly not a pedigree that you would think would be in an $8,000 claiming race. So, I wouldn't be surprised to see him take even another step forward. I don't think he still can hang with a horse like Code of Honor in the stretch, but he's been very tough to pass this meet. And then kind of a Fat Man continues running good races as a 7-year-old gelding. Hasn't won the Battery Park at Delaware on the Del Cap undercard. Hasn't won 2 races in a row since 2017, but the last time he did that, it was running here when he won the Long Branch back in 2017 after winning at Belmont. If Code of Honor just isn't the same horse coming back, these two are probably where I'm looking.
Makes sense, and they definitely seem like good exacta partners. I'll tell you what, if I'm betting Code of Honor, I'm probably having at least a little bit of 7 with 5 just on the scenario. Brian mentioned horses who may go with Bryce, but if that doesn't happen, Bryce could take a lot of beating on the front end, and if Code of Honor is a little short, I could see him kind of running his race and still only getting second in certain scenarios. So even what I might do is play a horse like Code of Honor pretty stone cold in the picks, and then come back with that one-way exacta saver in a spot like this to at least recoup the other investment. Because that to me, it feels like if Code of Honor is going to get beat, it's probably going to get beat by a horse in front of him. And Bryce does look like presumably the best of those. But I definitely respect Eric's idea also of the 6 Fat Man maybe being able to get the jump. It's an interesting race for sure. It's a great day of racing. We always love to tout Monmouth Park as a place to go and bet the races and have a wonderful day out. I have very fond memories of my Father's Day celebration there this year. Can't wait to get back. And Brian, we have to thank you for lending us Frank Miramati for a couple of days up here at Saratoga. It's been great to hear his tones over the PA system up here. He's been doing a great job.
It's always great to hear Frank's voice. I wish you guys could have been. We had our Monmouth Park golf outing on Monday, and Frank was the auctioneer. I mean, it was just gold. It could have been a sitcom. He was on fire. We raised a lot of money. It was really, really entertaining. So
that's a role he was born for.
Voice, it was
he doing the routine, the charity auctioneer routine, where he basically just starts berating the audience for not bidding enough money? Was it that?
Basically, that was part of the routine. Yeah, but there was impersonations involved, and it was some good inside jokes. Bashing Monmouth Park management, of course, and all lighthearted stuff that we all just make fun of each other for, but. It was just, he was on fire.
Well, we'll get him back on soon. We'll do some more stuff with you, obviously. It's always a pleasure to have you on. And Eric, another fantastic job. I feel like you've taken to this video stuff like a duck to water, and we look forward to having you back on. And we encourage folks to read your daily analysis of Monmouth Park over at InTheMoneyPodcast.com. Thank you both very much.
Thank you,
Peter. Have a good day, guys.
Very excited to be speaking with Scotty McKeever in the next segment about his thoughts on this Pacific Classic Day. I'll also be joining him on his live stream. You'll hear more about that in the segment coming up, but that's going to be about 1 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. We'll be going over the Pacific Classic in even greater detail than we will on this show. It'll be a fun and interactive segment as well. If you haven't checked out equinedge.com yet, I don't know what's taking you so long. This is a powerful AI technology tool for horse racing there are some things that I have just instantly incorporated into the work that I do. The strength of race, the genetic strength rating, those are at the top of it. But there's more things coming down the line as well. Betting tools. No matter how you approach the game, I think EquinEdge can help you do it better. And if you use our promo code FREEMONEY, you get it for a free month, not just a free weekend. So you're going to want to check that out. EquinEdge.com/freemoney. That's one way to get there. Or you can just navigate to the EquinEdge.com site. Remember, that's one E in the middle, EQUINEDGE, and navigate to where you sign up. Put in that promo code FREEMONEY. Get your free month. You're going to be hearing more about this in the next segment, so I won't go on any longer. Next up on the show, very happy to be joined, as I have been for several weeks this summer, by the man who is the inspiration, maybe that's the right word, behind EquinEdge, this new AI-fueled handicapping software we've been talking about a lot. You've probably seen him on TV in his day, and you've certainly seen him atop many contest leaderboards. Scotty McKeever, how are things?
Good, Peter. How are things with you?
Excellent.
Good.
You know, everything but the weather here in Saratoga right now, but we're hoping it's going to clear up enough to have good weather for our Alabama day. But one place we do not have to worry about the weather, as far as I know, is out there where you are in Del Mar for the signature race of the season out there at Del Mar, the Pacific Classic. How are the vibes heading into the track's big weekend?
Intense. People here are very excited. They've been looking forward to this race for a couple of weeks now, and very competitive field of horses. I feel like I've got it narrowed down as well, but we'll talk about that. But yeah, no, everybody's really pumped over here. People are starting to arrive here in town. I'm staying at the Del Mar Hilton Hotel across the street from Del Mar, and people are starting to pour in, and they're excited, and they're talking about the race, and everyone's like, who do you like? And yeah, it's a lot of intensity. The weather here is a little bit overcast and a little bit drizzly, but no, it's going to clear up. A lot of times you get that down here at Del Mar. It gets a little bit overcast in the mornings.
Yeah, it'll burn off and be a beautiful day, I would imagine, by the time it's you sit down for your fish tacos or whatever you're having for lunch out there.
The brigantine.
That's a good spot.
Yes.
So the other fun thing about this, and you can see so right on the graphics on the screen there, this is a mandatory pick six force out. Not a big fan of these jackpot pick sixes, but on the day when they force out the money, I'll swing. You'll notice most of the time we've been talking about the pick five, but today is a day where it's well worth having a look at this pick six, and I think that's where we'll begin today. And it kicks off this pick six in race number 6, and we've got lots of graded stakes action too. This is a 3-year-old fillies going a mile on the dirt in the grade 3 Torrey Pines. How are we going to kick this thing off, my friend?
Well, I'm going to use 4 horses. I've got the 1 horse Lady Mystify, the 4 horse Forest Caraway, 6 horse I'm So Anna, and Private Mission, who's going to be your favorite, is 9 to 5 on the morning lines, 7 to 5 on the morning line. Bob Baffert, Flavian Pratt, and then this horse has run good. It's off of a layoff since June over at Santa Anita, going 6 furlongs. Now all of a sudden going 8 furlongs here in this grade 3 race. Might be able to handle it, but I don't necessarily think that this horse has to win this race. And I don't know about you, but I've had a tough time trying to figure out when Bob Baffert's horses are going to run and when they're not going to run. So I've just decided to stay safe and cover those 4 horses.
Is that 1, 4, 6, 7 more or less in that order? Did you have one you wanted to nominate as a top pick?
It would probably be the Peter Urton horse, Lady Mystify, the 1 horse. This one's won a couple of races in a row. This one can rate some as well. Going to be on the inside, might even be on the lead. Didn't break very good early on. That was also a long layoff, a 5-month layoff, maybe almost 6 months layoff for this 3-year-old filly by Bernardini. So I think this one might run good, going up to a grade 3. Can it handle the rise? I think so. I don't think this is the strongest grade 3 field.
I could see it. I could definitely see it. In my reckoning of the race, Private Mission is going to lock horns with Lady Mystify, and it's going to set up best for the number 4, Forest Caraway, who I think should get a great trip on the stretch out. I'm hoping can lay close, stalk and pounce. That was a super fast run in the comebacker. I have a feeling in the first start as a 3-year-old, that was real improvement, not something that she's going to regress off of, but something she might be able to build off of. I like the 4, Forest Caraway, one of your 4 in this spot. Scotty sees it 1, 4, 6, 7. And that's how we'll kick off the pick 6, which we will then move on to more graded stakes actions on the turf for the boys. We've got 3 and up in the grade 2 Del Mar Mile, going 1 mile on this turf. And the more I look at this race, the more I like number 6, Mo Forza. Now, Mo Forza he looks to me, looking at the old school racing form, like much more of a standout than he does on the Equine Edge form. So I'm curious to see what you think, but just my old school handicapping, Peter Miller, I think he's going to have a big Pacific Classic day. This one looks ready for the comeback, and I think is going to get an ideal setup. This is a spot where I've always been a huge Smooth Like Straight fan, but I think that Neptune Storm, Mo Forza's uncoupled stablemate, is going to give that one a bit of a tussle on the front end. I just think Mo Forza is going to have too much late pace and mow these all down in the Del Mar Mile. But I'm guessing you see it a little bit differently just based on how the race looks on Equine Edge.
Well, it's a wide open race. Mo Forza has been off since October, been on the bench since then. Only 3 races in 2020, and this is a pretty tough field. And you have to beat the likes of Smooth Like Straight, who, when the horse wins or loses, it's never by much. So a hard one to key in on. But yes, it's our top win percentage. It has an 8-5 on our EE morning line, and it's the top Scotty pick, that algorithm as well. So there's a lot of things pointing towards Smooth Like Straight. But like you said, Peter Miller's one horse, Neptune Storm, from the inside is going to go to lead. And you know what? You might be surprised. I think this one could go gate to wire as well. So I think maybe if Smooth Like Straight sits off with Umberto Rispoli and gives an easy lead to Neptune Storm, don't be surprised if that one goes gate to wire. Been in the money in 17 to 21 races. So this one really tries, and it could be tough, but might also get pressure from Smooth Like Straight. So we'll see what happens. The 2 horse Hit the Road, Florent Giroux and Dan Blacker. Yes, didn't run good last time out in the Maker's Mile. I don't know what happened there. I don't think there was the pace. Gonna get pace here. This one might be the horse to beat, and might get a good setup. I think could get a good setup. And then, of course, Mo Forza. So I'm covering 1, 2, 3, 6 in this race because I really don't know how it's going to play out. Mo Forza, I mean, very, very nice horse. 2 wins in a row, but it's been off since October. And to beat these horses, you're going to have to be at your best. So we'll see what happens. I don't really have a strong feeling here, but that's why I'm just going to spread and see what happens. 1, 2, 3, 6 for me.
All right, 1, 2, 3, 6 for Scotty there. Let's move on to race number 8. We've got an interesting looking contest here with an allowance race, but with some graded stakes form on display in this one as well. 7 furlongs on the dirt. Scotty, I'll send it back to you.
All right. Well, you know, the 1 horse Risk and Reward, this one had a long layoff since September of last year and then came back here on the 25th of July and won easily, breaking its maiden, his maiden. Nice horse by Frosted for Bob Baffert, Abel Cedillo, who's leading jockey on the dirt here at Del Mar. So Abel riding with a lot of confidence right now, getting good mounts, but now goes 7 furlongs, does have the rail, and a race too, Peter, that seems like there's a lot of speed. So, I have to use the 1 horse, but I'm really leaning more towards the 2. I haven't made my decision yet whether I'm going to single Dream Shake or not. Lightly raced 6 races, been in the money in 4 of them. Went on the turf last time out and dropped 10 points in genetic strength rate in GSR. So I'm throwing that race out. Blinkers are off here for Peter Erden, and this one could really sit a good trip. Very tactical on the inside, Flavian Pratt. I think Dream Shake is the horse to beat. I'm going to either single the 2 or I'm going to cover 1, 2, 4, and 8. Don't give up. The Scotty Longshot horse is a little bit of metal for Doug O'Neill and Kyle Frey, who's hitting at a good percentage. And this one's going to probably go off at 12, 15 to 1 from a 6 to 1 morning line. And my simulated race, I ran that, and it had the 8 horse closing really strong. So at least maybe in the money, a little bit of metal. Again, I'm covering 1, 2, 4, 8.
I'm with you on Dream Shake. Back to dirt after the failed turf experiment. And I loved how you used the GSR there to help forgive that turf race. I don't think that was a case of the horse being off form. I think they were trying to see if the horse could run on turf. And the answer, as predicted by GSR, was not particularly. And then the other thing is that race 2 back, I think, was probably on the wrong part of the track that day, buried down on the inside. Blinks off for this runner who always had talent. And I love that dirtied up form because I think it means we might get a better price than we should. He's kind of a known name, a known entity, was on that Triple Crown trail. So who knows? Maybe the market will really come for this one. But I think we might be able to get that 7 to 2 in the morning line. And Dream Shake would be a strong play for me as well at that price. I'll mention another one to back up with, kind of an interesting looking form on the number 7 Positivity. But just looking at that last figure and wanting to take it literally for this developing 3-year-old, that race would put this horse in the mix here. So I want some positivity on the tickets as well. Unusual not unusual, but notable that this one claimed by Doug O'Neill out of that race, getting Rispoli in the plate. I like it 1-7, and I definitely see, 2-7, and I definitely see your cases as well, potentially to back up with the 1, 4, and 8. Maybe on some tickets, I'll try to use all of those runners in various combinations. Let's move on to race number 9, Scotty. It's the Grade 1 Del Mar Oaks 3-year-old fillies going 1 mile and an eighth on the turf in this spot. And I wanted to suggest a long shot as a pace play here. The number 2, Havanika, I think is pretty interesting in a race that does not seem to have much pace in it. I wonder if she can't just get to the front. I'm hoping Drayden Van Dyke uses aggressive riding tactics, not necessarily something he's known for, and puts Havanika in the race right from the bell and has a chance to see out this 9-furlong trip and can maybe get it done 10-1 on the morning line. Some others that have obvious claims, but let's bring you in to give your top picks in this race.
Oh, it's all about going global. I don't even think this is a race other than going global. The Irish spread. I mean, when you talk about Havanika, I mean, it did go Gates Wire, but that was a much easier group. Havanika is gonna feel a lot of pressure in here. Going global just looks too good for these to me. And this one is a very, very nice horse. 5 wins in 9 races lifetime. Flavian Pratt's aboard for Phil D'Amato. And this one's going to be awfully tough to beat. And the 9 furlongs is perfect. This one's 2 for 2 going 9 furlongs. Has our top genetic strength rating, top win percentage, EE morning lines 8-5, and also the top Scotty pick. I just think going global's gone.
I could see it for sure based on the figures and form. My only concern was, can she be as effective laying a bit closer to the pace? I think she's going to have to do that. I mean, why not with these connections and Pratt calling the shots? But I was just worried at a potentially short price about being a little far back. I did have her in the mix as my as a backup here, but you're clearly not concerned about those things. But what kind of a trip do you see her getting? Do you see her being good enough to come from far back anyway, or do you think she'll lay a little bit closer?
Oh, I think that there's not really a lot of pace in here. So, and she's just got the class of the race, so she's going to be really close to the pace most likely, and it'll look more like the Providencia Stakes going 9 furlongs, that Grade 3 that she won, where she had to be close to the pace. But I think this is an even easier field. She's doing very well for Phil D'Amato, Flavian Pratt. I mean, I think he's going to be able to do whatever he wants with her, Peter. I mean, she's just too good for these.
You know, I can definitely see the case, and I'm not going to get beat by. I just thought I had maybe a half clever idea on a long shot to throw in there as well. Let's talk about race number 10, the race that gives the day its name, the Grade 1 Pacific Classic, 3 and up, going 1.25 miles on the Del Mar dirt. The same configuration this year as the Breeders' Cup Classic will be in a few months' time. Scotty, how do you see it?
Well, interesting horses. Dr. Post, of course, it's our top Scotty pick, and it's got a good win percentage of 28%, and won the Monmouth Cup, doing very well. Interesting, there's no posted workouts here at Del Mar for Dr. Post, which for Todd Pletcher and Joel Rosario, going to probably be your favorite. 4-1 on the morning line right now. I think this horse is going to go off as a favorite. Not going to be my top pick. I'm going to use the horse. I'm going to put it in. I think it's all about the San Diego handicap. You know, you got Tripoli that comes out of the horse and got a second place finish for John Sadler. That was really good. And Royal Ship, though, is going to be my top pick. Got a third place finish in there, but I don't think Dick Mandela was pointing for this race. I really don't. Dick Mandela also has Tis a Magician. I'm not seeing Tis a Magician in here. I just don't see it. Has a low win percentage. EE morning lines 5-1. You know, I just think these are two. That's a Grade 3 horse. This is a Grade 1 field. I think it's Tripoli, and I think it's going to be Royal Ship, the 4 horse, going to be my top pick. An interesting horse here is Express Train, though, for John Sheriffs, and I'll tell you what I mean. This horse usually has to be too close to the pace. For her best, or his best, he needs to be. I would love to see Juan Hernandez take this horse back and about maybe 5 or 6 lengths to make a run, because I think this horse has the talent. But if this horse is going to stay close to the pace, that could be really tough here, because you've got some fast horses. Cupid's Claws, the 9 horse, is going to go to the lead. Tis a Magician is going to go to the lead. I don't think Tis a Magician necessarily wants to go this far. We'll see. But I don't really love the horse, Tis Magician. But so I'm going to go anyways. I'm going to go with the 4-1, and then I might throw in the 3 and 5 in there as well in my pick 6.
Okay, I think that to me sounds like a smart way to approach the race, and I have the same top 2 picks as you do. The only thing I'll add about Royal Ship is that was a day at Del Mar for the San Diego handicap where it didn't seem like the inside was where you wanted to be. Royal Ship spent a good part of the race down there. So I think I like what you said about maybe Mandela was using it kind of as a prep anyway. And then you throw in that maybe it was better than it looked. I think in condition terms, Royal Ship has to move forward. And if he does, I think he's supposed to beat this field, including the likes of Dr. Post and Express Train. I will include Dr. Post coming in from the East Coast. I think that last race came back pretty strong on the clock in the Monmouth Cup, and I think he'd get the right kind of grindy forward trip. He shapes like the 10 furlongs should be within his grasp. I wouldn't mind having some 3s on tickets, and I wouldn't mind having some 5s on tickets either. Express Train just makes an awful lot of sense on his recent run of form. But my strong opinion in here is that Royal Ship gets the job done, and I'm willing to run a whole lot of my ticket through number 4 in this year's Pacific Classic. We should point out we're going to be talking about these races and maybe doing some spot plays as well on your channel for your show that you do with the coffee and the handicapping at 10 a.m. Pacific on Saturday, 1 p.m. Kind enough to let me join you. Let folks know, Scotty, where they can find us on Saturday.
All right, so you just go to YouTube. You can subscribe to our channel there. Click on the bell. You'll get all the notifications. Also, you can subscribe to equinedge.com. It's free to do so. I know we have a promo right now. You've got that promo, Peter. I don't know what it is, but you can maybe let everybody know what that is, and they can get I think it's a free month, correct?
Yeah, free month with free money. And you can either put that in as part of the URL, equinedge.com/free money, or through the sign-up page. When you sign up physically, you can pop in that promo code free money. It's definitely something you're going to want to do if you want to check out this product.
Yeah, by the way, too, I just want to clarify, with Tis a Magician, the horse can get the distance, but I just don't think at this level that this horse is as good as these horses. So sometimes when you're looking at distance, you can look and go, okay, yeah, the horse can get this distance against easier competition, but to get the distance against horses of the likes of Dr. Post and Royal Ship and Tripoli, that's a little bit more difficult. So just to clarify, but I do think the race, I think you might see Royal Ship run a really huge race here and going to be ready to go. And Mike Smith is probably going to sit like maybe 3rd or 4th in here and then make a run here in the TVG Pacific Classic. And I think it's all about Royal Ship and Richard Mandela, Mike Smith, big money Mike. And he's going to give this horse a good ride. I think this horse, lightly raced, by the way, too. And this horse has been in the money in 11 of 14 races. So, and in the races it lost, it had some excuses. So, they tried turf for a while there. This horse is much better on the dirt.
Let's move on to our nightcap, and we've got graded stakes action in our nightcap, which is super cool. This one sponsored by our pals at the Japan Racing Association. It's the Grade 2 Del Mar Handicap, 1 mile and 3/8 on the turf course. Scotty, how are we going to get paid?
Okay, so I struggled with this race a little bit, Peter, but Arklow doesn't have to win this race. There is going to be pace, no question. There's going to be pace, but Arklow is going to finish. But I mean, this horse does have some to prove. Basically, this horse is a Grade 3 winner, right? Won the Grade 2 Hollywood Turf Club, over at Del Mar, going 12 furlongs, gets 11 furlongs here, needs the pace, might get it, but still, when you're talking about this many horses on this turf course, you're going to have to get the trip. Maybe gets the trip, maybe not. Fleron drew aboard. I don't know. Going to be the horse to beat, but I'm going to go with Master of Foxhounds for Richard Baltus. Kent DeSormo's aboard, and this one can run. Going to get the pace here. Didn't get the pace set up the last couple of times. I'm going to come with a surprise here with Master of Foxhounds. United's going to get a good trip as well. So I'm probably leaning towards the Master of Foxhounds, the 5, as well as the 4-horse United. So I haven't made a decision yet on how many I'm going to spread out in there, but I know I'm going to use those 2 for sure.
So I've got a goofy one in here, and this may just be chasing rainbows, but I do want to make a little bit of a case for a horse who has been hyped since his debut in this country when he was in the Chad Brown barn. Masterpiece. This horse now getting a big change of scenery and heading out west into the care of Michael McCarthy. There's not really anything on paper I can do to make a great case for this horse. The United Nations run was not great. The Manhattan run was not great. But I'm just saying this is a horse I know was super well thought of at one point. I'm expecting to be all of the 15-1 of the morning line. I just think the horse goes with a little bit of a chance on the change of scenery based on how much positive buzz there was about him. There's a lot of this sounds more harsh than I mean it to sound, but there's definitely some like tired form in this race of horses we've been seeing again and again, and they're good horses, but they're going to take all the money, and I don't think that Arklow or United have to win, just like you. I'm reaching in a different direction, but I think it's interesting that we're both looking to go to double-digit odds with our top pick in this spot. And I think that the algorithm on Equinedge that supports this is just looking at how divided the predicted win percentages are all across this field. It doesn't necessarily seem like a race. I think the public is going to bet where we have an 8-5 and a 5-2, but it doesn't necessarily look to me like that's how it has to go down.
Oh, I would completely agree. And an example of that is, how about the one horse Media Blitz? This one has our second top win percentage in the race of 17%. That should show. United has 18%. That tells you how wide open this race is. So we're going to use tools like the genetic strength rating, but all these horses are pretty well bred. But Media Blitz is 30-1 on John White's morning line and is 10-1 on ours. Has a very good GSR of 76, 17% on the win. I know I don't normally like horses like this because this horse just is barely getting by non-winners of two field optional claiming 63. So Umberto is aboard for Simon Callahan. Simon Callahan believes this horse fits here. So just a horse to pay attention to, maybe even the exotics or maybe even the win. Who knows? Can surprise. But the algorithms are kind of pointing a little bit towards this horse Media Blitz. So very interesting long shot.
Yeah, I've got it in the end based on exactly what you said. I had Media Blitz in the mix too. I had 6-1 on the A line and 4-5 on the B line. Sounds to me like I should include Media Blitz as a backup for you as well.
It looks like that, at least in the verticals, if you're going to play a trifecta or an exacta or something. But I think that the top GSR in the race is this Master of Foxhounds for Richard Baltus, and this one could get the pace here and finish up really good. From what I understand, training very good in the mornings as well. And Kent DeSormo jumps aboard. Kent has been a big money rider in his life, and he's been doing very well right now and in very good form. And this horse, by the way, is also 1-for-1 at this distance of 11 furlongs on the turf. So.
All right, so a few good ideas. We'll see. Sometimes you can get alive to one of these big prices for a score, and then you sit in disgust when the favorites that we think are a little overbet run 1-2 anyway. But hopefully that's not going to be how it plays out here on Pacific Classic Day. Scotty, I will see you on Saturday. Folks should join us. We'll send that out on social media as well if you want to interact with us a little bit there on the Equinedge YouTube channel. Just go to Equinedge page. As simple as searching for it through YouTube. And again, you'll find it on our social media as well. He's at Scotty Pick 6. I'm at Looms Boldly. Scotty, I'll see you tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, Peter.
Want to remind folks that fans can vote on the nominees for this year's ABR Fan Choice Awards, not just the awards themselves, but you're actually picking nominees in these competitive categories. Every week this month, it's been a different one. This week, it is favorite TV personality. You know who I voted for, Brittany Earton. Actually, as much as I love Brittany Earton, I voted for Jonathan Kitchen on our very own team. In truth, I could have made that joke about 20 names on this list. It's an incredibly competitive field with lots of deserving people. But I would like it if people out there showed their support for JK. He does a good job on those Fox shows and deserves nomination. But really, you can vote for whomever you want. Again, there's really no wrong answers looking over this list of names. Best way to do it, we made a pretty link for this too, inthemoneypodcast.com/vote. And then next week, we've got your favorite podcast. So we're really going to be hammering that note pretty hard and trying to get as many people possible out there doing it. But let's get JK up there amongst the leaders this week, and we'll go from there. Really cool thing, these Fan Choice Awards, and the smart thing for us as fans to participate in and get involved with. So to vote, go to inthemoneypodcast.com/vote. That's going to do it for this edition of the show. Lots of people to thank. Let's start with producer Craig, who's done yeoman's work stitching this thing together and making fancy graphics and all that stuff. We'll start with him. He does a good job. How about Drew Coatney, who did double duty talking about the Saturday Woodbine card and the runner by runner for the Queen's Plate. He'll be back too on Sunday with his final answers on that loaded Woodbine Sunday card. Don't sleep on that. You're going to want to get involved. Thank you to our presenting sponsors of today's show, Woodbine. Got to throw them in one more time. Really appreciate all the support they've shown us. And I love watching and betting on their racing. Hopefully going to get chance to be up there soon. Great to have them have one of their big weekends coming up this weekend. Good Saturday card and a great Sunday one. Brian Skirka, will say thank you to him. Eric Solomon as well, and our partners over at Monmouth Park. Another season working with them. That's been fantastic. Looking forward to doing a lot more when the next meet rolls around. But we're not wishing that meet away. Still a few September weekends, hoping to get down there, watch some NFL maybe on a Sunday from one of my favorite racetracks. Scotty McKeever, Equine Edge, that whole team, they've been a joy to work with. And then Matt Vagvolgyi coming through with his thoughts on this Alabama Day Pick 6. Appreciate that as well. Our founding partners, Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation and 10 Strike Racing, props to them. But most of all, thank you to all of you, the listeners and viewers who make these shows so much fun to do. I'll encourage you one more time, if you're in our sort of hardcore fandom, as it were, join us for Horse Player Happy Hour. We have so much fun on Thursdays with our friends at the Breeders' Cup, going over races, answering questions, talking about silliness of all manner, especially when Michelle Yu is involved. But we want you to join us in the chat, support the great charities that are associated with that. And remember, 20,000 added in extra prizes by us vis-a-vis our friends at the Breeders' Cup. We got to support things like this, or we're not going to be able to keep doing them. So I want to see that number 180, 200. Help us out. Get involved, even if you're just playing all the ones. Next game will be Thursday, presumably races 3 through 10 at Saratoga. Horseplayers.com. The link to sign up will be up soon. This show's been a production of In the Money Media. Our business manager is Drew Coatney. Our chief creative officer is Jonathan Kinchin. I'm Peter Thomas Fornitel. May you win all your photos.